You have a rare perspective on this whole thing because you were part of the 99 championship Spurs, a season cut short by the labor strike, and you faced all the Asterisk talk back then. What's your answer to that criticism then and now, I guess? Obviously you guys had that, and now whoever wins this championship is going to hear the same thing. Can this be defended as a serious championship?
Yeah, it can be. It can be for sure. And we won in '99. We heard the talk after, and to me, it was puzzling because the people that were criticizing it were the same people that we went through.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that if they had won, they wouldn't have asked for an asterisk next to the championship. And it's not like we played a shortened playoff schedule.
Right.
The season was shortened, but the playoffs were exactly the same amount of games. And if you said, "Oh, you only got to win 8 games to win a championship," that's completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to win the required amount of games that everybody else had played previous years. So previously, so I don't get the asterisk talk.
Right.
I mean, you have to play the same playoff format, and so it's going to be the same thing here. You're still taking the best teams. The only thing is that you're not going to have really, to me, any kind of home court advantage because you're not going to have the fans behind you. So I almost think it's going to be tougher.
Yeah.
I almost think it's going to be tougher for a team. The Lakers have a home court advantage, or the Bucks have home court. I'm putting home court advantage in quotation fingers.
Yep.
If they have that, you don't really have it. Milwaukee is not going to have their fans behind them, so it's going to be much more difficult for them that they're facing the Lakers in a 7-game series on which is essentially a neutral court, as opposed to facing them at their arena where they have the fans getting behind them and juicing them up.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the season did give me a lot of hope this last weekend when the Raptors did beat the Lakers, because it does seem okay. The level playing field feels much better now.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. There's a lot to talk about there because, for me, and I joked about it on our air, I wasn't the best practice player. I played well enough in practice, but for me, when the lights were on and people were there, it brought a heightened sense of focus for me. And so I felt like I performed much better when people were in the stands than just a practice or a scrimmage situation. And I'm sure that might hold true for some of the players that are playing. But again, the NBA's done such a great job of kind of staging the games that maybe it doesn't impact guys.
Yeah. Well, as you said, above and beyond your historic run with the Spurs, you're also now a broadcaster for the team. And Popovichs has said that his main focus in Orlando is player development, guys like Keldon Johnson, Eubanks, Luka, Lonnie Walker.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I'm a Popovich stan. I love the dude. I just am always nervous with him putting his health on the line, because he's obviously in a heightened age group to get young guys reps. I mean, that bummed me out. I mean, do you think it's still worth it to hear they're not going for the championship? They're just trying to get guys into the game?
Well, they see the writing on the wall. I mean, there's no LaMarcus Aldridge. He's out with a shoulder injury. No Trey Lyles. So you're missing arguably your best player and LaMarcus. And I'm sure, you look at it and the situation where you have to win a certain amount of games just to get in a playoff situation. And then you're probably most likely played the Lakers in the first round. And you kind of have to understand and be realistic about your chances.
Yeah.
And so, I like what they're doing right now, playing the young guys and kind of seeing what you have going forward. And as a matter of fact, it's paid off so far. I mean, we've won the first couple games. The young guys look good, and they're playing, loose out there, and they're playing with no pressure. They know that they're going to play 30 minutes a night. They know that they're going to be able to make mistakes, and Pop's not going to pull them. And so you have guys right now that are just letting it flow. They've got a sense of freedom out there, and it's paying off for us. And we're getting a chance to see our young guys shine and see what you have going forward.
Sure. And you're one of the most storied college players of all time, University of Arizona's leading scorer still at this time. The NCAA season up in the air, really. Do you think there's any way they can make it work safely to have these kids in college and playing?
I'm not sure. I think right now, when I look at what's going on in all the sports, the only way that anything's going to work is probably in a bubble.
Yeah.
Because, you can control the variables. You can control the environment around the players. Can't do that in college.
No.
And furthermore, these guys coming in 18, 19 years old, how are you going to tell them to socially distance and not go to the frat party?
Yeah.
And stay away from your girlfriend or other people. And that's just not going to happen. I think the players in the NBA, obviously, they've done a great job of respecting each other and respecting the mission or the goal and what the league's trying to achieve. So they've done a great job of kind of policing themselves and staying in the quarantine. I don't think you can pull that off with a bunch of college kids.
Yeah. Well, before sports did come back, fans clung on to The Last Dance on ESPN. I think one of the big revelations that people took out of it was that Michael Jordan sure hated the Pistons. You were on the Detroit Pistons in 93, 94. That is the Last Dance season.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything from those matchups with the heated kind of feelings that he gave off during the doc?
Well, I got there in 93, 94, and Michael, that was the year, I want to say the first year that he had retired, and then he came back the next year, halfway through the season. So, yeah, the Bulls were still good. They were still a good team, but the Pistons weren't the same Pistons.
Right.
You know, it was Isaiah, Joe, and Bill Laimbeer, essentially, that were left over from those bad boy teams. The rest of the guys, the rest of that roster wasn't there. And so, you know, there wasn't a lot of talk about it. You know, I had watched those matchups. I was, you know, obviously not only a player, but I was a huge fan of just watching games. And so I'd seen all that drama unfold, but there wasn't a lot of talk about it, honestly, in Detroit anymore.
Wow. So you didn't hear any Isaiah talk about Jordan and stuff while all that kind of, is he coming back? Is he, I mean, it was such a big deal in those seasons right before he came back. You didn't hear anything kind of going on?
No, I didn't. But they didn't really talk about it a lot, and I know why, because it didn't end well for them.
No.
And so I'm sure they didn't want to rehash, you know, what Michael had done to them that last season.